think there is a URL that you can go to, and then there is a code you can enter. So that way you can join the quiz.
So there is a website called www.menti.com. So you can go to that site and you can enter this code there. So for virtual audience, you can enter this code. For a physical audience also, you can enter this code.
17556018.
What 7556018.
For the virtual audience, I hope you can see the screen. It's 17556018. Menti.com. MENTI.com. Yeah, we're pasting the link also in the chat.
Should not be able to. Also, they take it.
The thumbs up mean they're registering.
Entering
29 so far. Okay.
Anyone need any help? On something like 601
எல்லா புஸ்தகம் இந்த கோட் தான்.
Yes. It will change for you.
Very fortunate.
Virtual teams, do you guys do you need one more minute to join? We have 45 participants so far. The quiz will be such that we'll display a question. We'll give a few minutes, let's say 20 seconds or so. You can enter the answer, and then once we go to the next question, then you cannot go to the previous question. So if you guys are ready, we can start. Apparently, the team wouldn't start the quiz unless we hit 50 tomorrow.
Yes.
Start for now. This is just a brief demographics for our understanding of the target audience. No prices for this stuff. So many are classified as beginners, self-classified, but they still have used, most of them have used ChatGPT. They text, they type.
Yeah.
Clovers. So there are a lot of students and then data analysts. But one thing that I want to mention that like this OpenAI models or other LLMs, right, are not just for the data analysts, right? Like those who are on the application side of things, the digital side of things, digital developers, full stack folks, right, can use these APIs. It's just consuming these APIs, understanding what these APIs can do, how you fix these APIs together. Okay. So this one has some price.
Can I start?
Ready?
Ten seconds. Technically impossible. Joel, Snuggles, Naren, Voyage.
Anybody here? Okay. Oh, ingella real place. Come forward. Fun price you want.
Joel,
Okay, Joel,
who's this? Snuggles.
Snuggles, Snuggles.
Maybe virtual, I think. Virtual audience get a clap.
Naren,
Naren, myself.
there are two Narens. Just Naren.
Naren.
Yeah, it's
No,
Naren. There's Avatar. Avatar Panda. And Umaya.
Douglas, Naren, Maraj, and Joe.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. The last two questions about images, right? GPT 3.5 cannot parse images yet, right? But apparently GPT 4 can. I've seen some demos and videos of that. So that becomes a multi-modal models, like text, image, other data. We'll discuss that in the presentation. The credit PPT is on the display now, right? Most of you will go to sleep, I hope. I don't. So we gave the demos, right? Hopefully, like you can connect some of this PPT back to this demo and then get you guys engaged. Yeah.
Virtual audience, can you able to see the PPT? Anyone?
Yes.
yes.
So let's go. I'll give just a overview of the GPT-3 and let's start this with the introduction. So today, you know the topic is about GPT-3. So how many of you know? Yeah, it's obviously in the question. This GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. So before 3-4 years, before few years back, if we want to build a system that using a natural language process, we have to build it from the scratch. So we have to gather some data. Let's give an example. Let's consider customer reviews. So you are giving some reviews in Amazon. So these reviews are it will be categorized into positive, negative, and neutral. So this is a NLP task. So if you want to build this sentiment analysis task, it is we have to gather all those reviews and we have to split it like a train and test data. We have to train the model using this positive reviews, also negative reviews, and also the neutral reviews. So the model will understand these positive, what are the positive words, what are the negative words, and neutral words, and it will learn from the given data and try to predict when we are giving a new input to the model. So this is the practical NLP application that we are building it from the scratch before few years. So this is like a very large pipeline. So sometimes we may be short of data, we may be short of some resources for training those data. There may be a GPU, we may need a GPU to train these models. But this generative pre-trained transformer, the word itself is the sentence itself gives you the meaning. It's a pre-trained transformer. It will be already trained with the world's data. All the corpus, it is available in the internet or which is available open source. All this data are ingested into this model. This model have already seen all this data and learned about the information in those data. This is the pre-trained word meaning. So from this pre-trained transformer, we will be generating a new text. From already trained model, we will be getting a new output based on our requirement. This is the basic idea of this GPT. So this GPT-3 is a variant of GPT. So we will see that evolution OpenAI. So this GPT-3 it's as already said, it is trained on the large data, but it have not seen a particular domain's data. If you want to create application that is with respect to the medical domain or HR domain, it is a generalized model. It don't have any particular domain's data. We have to give those data and retrain this GPT-3. This is the basic idea. So it's already there in the model. We will be using this model. We will also give some few data to the model, and it will gain the information of this data and perform based on our requirements.
So generic tasks it can do. If you're written this sentiment analysis, it's quite easy already to do it. Like you give a text review, it can, I think, out of the box, do the sentiment analysis for you, extract some information from it, right? Some entities, all those things. It's quite possible with the pre-trained model itself. So only if you have to do something domain specific that you may have to, fine tune it or retrain. So in a way, it's some of the model training is taken away from us, right? I think back in the day when you're programming in C++ or even previous version of a programming language, the programmer has to do a lot of things, right? They have to think about how much memory that your code will take. You have to allocate memory, right? You have to make sure that memory is deallocated. You have to do a lot of fine-grained things so that your code works as expected, right? But now we don't think about it, right? The VMs, right? The Java virtual machines or .NET frameworks take those things away from us, right? So all the memory allocation, garbage collection, right? Multi-threading, managing this multi-threading, multi-process applications are all taken care of at the framework level so that the developer can think about the actual task at hand, right? The actual problem you're trying to solve. Same here, right? I think we'll do less and less of model training and more of you trying to figure out how we can use the existing models to solve the problem or do some fine tuning if necessary to make it specific enough to solve that particular problem that you're dealing with.
So we have completed this GPT part. So this is ChatGPT. So there is no much difference between this GPT and ChatGPT, but this GPT-3, this ChatGPT is also capable of doing all the tasks that can be done using this GPT-3. It's like the same kind of model. It is tuned for chat-based APIs. Like let us also give an example. Like a few years back, if you want to create a customer chatbot for FAQs or asking a frequent questions, we have to build it from the scratch. We have before few years we are hard coding the flow by using if conditions, and I used those things as a chatbot. And after a few years, chatbot frameworks like Rasa, NLU, Google's Dialogflow, Amazon Lex, and Azure Louis, they have created some chatbot architecture, and we can just give our specific data to those architectures and build a new chatbot. So this was also before 3-4 years. Now this NLP is evolving gradually, and we have reached a stage where we don't want to build any architecture. We don't want to care about any pre-trainings at all. We can just use this API without any external data. we can use this ChatGPT by prompting our requirements. It can able to handle in whichever domain we are asking and give the specified outputs. This it's like a GPT. It's the variant of GPT-3. This ChatGPT is exactly called as a GPT 3.5. So it is tuned for chat-based purposes, conversation purposes. So this is ChatGPT. So here you can see this image. So before few years we are using this a manual worker have to go through this FAQs and all, and now we can like ingest all this knowledge to a AI machine or any system, and this system learns from this all this data, and it can able to handle all the tasks by itself without any human intervention. So that's the picture. So this is the picture of them.
So basically, we are evolving from being chatbot developers into prompt engineers, right? So we'll be working on focusing on how to put together good prompts to help the model give the specific answer that we're looking for. So that the advantage of being a prompt engineer is it requires less and less technical skills, just the awareness of like how the model works, what kind of input we need to give. So those folks who are on the digital marketing side of things and HR, business development, and whatever other allied tech stack, right, can become prompt engineers also with your domain expertise.
So this is the timeline where the NLP race have started. So OpenAI was founded on 2015. They just introduced themselves as a research developers, non-profit organization with the, and they have just released a few models like GPT-1 in the 2018, which was not very attractive. It can just it's just a basic NLP model like tokenization and all. So this is the GPT-1. After 2018, they have released a second variant of GPT that is on 2019. So this got some attention because this GPT-2 can able to handle some specific tasks like text classification. So I have given an example like customer review. So this comes under text classification. So we can able to do the text classification under GPT-2. So it's an open source model. They have also given it as a publicly, and we can use this. Model, and we can retrain this model. We can fine tune this model and deploy it in any application we wanted. So this got attention in 2019. So in 2020, they have released a huge model that is 175 billion parameters model. So it is like considered as one of the biggest model as of now. So they have released a GPT-3 variant. So this got huge attention among the market, AI industry and the market. So if by this GPT-3, we can able to do generative tasks. So we can retrieve the information. We can generate the information. We can manipulate the information, and all these things we can able to do this. So we have seen this demo videos. We have used GPT-3 in the backend. Inside this GPT-3 also there is various models for various tasks we will be covering in the later part. So in 2022 November, so they released the ChatGPT. So it was a huge impact on the AI industry. So this was on 2020.
After that, the rest is history, they say, right? Like, that's that marker, right? We can remember what happened exactly in November or December 2022 when ChatGPT came and took over the world.
So we will go through some applications where we are using this ChatGPT and GPT-3 APIs to the customers, to the end users. So we can go by one. So first we will cover this customer service. So as I already mentioned, so there are some chatbot. We are making some chatbots from the scratch. So this can be done using this GPT-3. So customer inquiries, we can handle customer inquiries and all using this ChatGPT.
See that multilingual demo that we saw, right, could be utilized here, right? The customer could be speaking our native language. We can infer what they're trying to ask, like they're asking a query about a reservation. we can infer like what is the reservation number, what is some context about the query, extract that information, do some like backend like a query or something like that, and respond. Right. So this is much more nuanced. Right. So far, chatbots are actually those if the human customer service representative is unavailable or they're expensive, you can only have so many of them. So then we'll have this chatbot as this last option, right? But then now we can combine them together to give a human-like response 24/7, and it can scale infinite.
So next domain is marketing. So in the marketing domain, so we will be generating so many contents for product campaigns, for promotion campaigns, social media posts. So this is like a manual person have to be there for all these tasks. So that person need to be well versed in communication, well versed in which language they are promoting. So all these things the person should have all these skills. So with this ChatGPT, a person who is good in prompt engineering, so who can just give some prompts to the machine and take the results is enough for the creating some good product descriptions or some results. So we can use this in the marketing industry.
Marketing is probably the first vertical that took off, right, with the ChatGPT. Our sales and marketing team hardly come to us with for asking for content or somebody or anything anymore, right? They can generate it themselves. So yeah, I'm sure you empathize with what I'm saying.
So the next domain is finance. So there's a project for investing in some companies or investing in any portfolios. We need to be analyzing the market trends. So we need to be careful on the current development and current downfall of the company. It is like a daily process. We have to be clear on that part to invest our money. So this can be done using this ChatGPT. So it can analyze the news article, or it can analyze any news about the company. It can able to interpret all the part of the news and tell you whether you can invest or not. So it will give you the sentiment. So it is whether it is giving a positive. So whether you can invest or not, it will give the results based on this analysis of that news article.
So, for example, we can get the audio transcripts of this quarterly filings, right, of this publicly traded company, where the CEO, talks about their plan for the next quarter with the analysts, right? We can get the text as or the audio transcripts of that, right? Now we can parse that, right? Look out for certain information in terms of their confidence, their sentiment, what are other metrics, right? To decide on, like your investment portfolio and things like that, right? See, what was inaccessible is accessible, right? How we will use that the information that is available to us into our domain, right? Finance or healthcare or whatever. It's up to the subject matter expert, right? But this provides that data with which they can act on that was not available to them easily or in a format that they can readily process before.
So the next domain is healthcare. So here, this ChatGPT and GPT play an important role. So this medical data is a very crucial and important information. So by ingesting this data to the model, we can just fine tune this model and use as a pre-screening part. Like whenever we are going to visit any doctor, so there may be some procedure like first a person will note down your symptoms and your diseases, and another person will be like assistant to the doctors or some junior doctors who will assist you who will ask you questions based on the symptoms and revert it back to the main doctor. So this is like big process. So we can use this bot as a pre-screening bot. So it will ask you questions based on the symptoms you give to the model. It will ask subsequent questions based on based on your conditions. It will ask your age. It will like diagnose the problem you are having, and give a it will give like a preparation for the preparation document for the doctor. So it will be a helpful tool for the doctors to screen you when you are going for any disease diagnosis.
Right, the domains like telemedicine, right? It'll be a game changing for that. Like a lot of these routine questions, right, to understand the symptoms and then create a preliminary diagnosis. It takes a lot of time. Mostly can only be done by trained professionals now. But if we can have like some technology to do that and then summarize that data and then give it to the trained professional for them to quickly assess and then like take a call on the treatment. Right. Another thing is like, we just came out of this pandemic, right? COVID only like 2 years ago. Right? See, that was a very stressful time for everybody across the world, for different countries, right? Because the transformation of this virus, the spread of this virus was like, like a quite fast during that time, right? Like we were actually trying to do some projects wherein we are trying to make the information available easily to the general audience, right? There were some, our customers, clients, government agencies, they were trying to provide this information on like what is the current state of this virus, like for different specific geographies. You have some symptoms, right? Like, can we get some more information on whether it is normal, what they should do, self-isolate or, reach out to this healthcare provider, what hospital beds are available, right? See, that information was still, like stuck in some silos. It was very hard to interpret, like, if a circular or some kind of a guidance is given in the form of a Word document, PDF, 10, 20, 30 pages long, and then it is difficult for common people to interpret, right? So those are the areas where these kind of generative models, right, can, provide like contextual information, right, based on the question answered, question asked, and then help with this like management of those kind of emergency situations.
So next domain is edutech. Like we can use this GPT for automatic summarization of lectures. So we can use this as intelligent tutor. So the one important point of ChatGPT is it can able to explain you for a 6-year kid or a 3-year kid, and also for a research scientist. So we can it's all in the prompt. So if you want to summarize a lecture notes for a 2-year kid, it can able to summarize that. So it will also give a comprehensive, detailed answer for also the research scientist. So it is having all those knowledge. So it is giving a comparative results for both these audiences. So next one is language translation. So we can also create a personalized learning paths, and we can also use this career guidance for students. So it will give you the full career pathway, learning path for them. So this is one of the use.
Right. See, I read somewhere that the Khan Academy, right? I'm sure you would have heard it, right? I think it's a non-profit, but it's an edutech. In the US, I think they started this edutech domain. They're one of the first partners with OpenAI to see how they can use these OpenAI models for learning, right, for the training. The feedback that they got, the OpenAI got from Khan Academy's experience, right? They were able to incorporate in such a way that this chatbot, these OpenAI models can differ to the human opinion, but at the same time, if there are some factual inaccuracies, right? For example, the early version of the model will say, if the user is saying, like a 7 plus 3 is 11, right? And right, if they are insistent, the GPT will say yes, 7 plus 3 is 11, right? Because it is trained to not contradict, right? But then they went and then fine-tuned to, to say like when you should contradict, right? Or like correct, right? If there are some scientific, mathematical, factual answers versus when the model should not, conflict or contradict if it is an opinion, right? Something that's subjective. So that will get better. Yeah. I understand there's already so many edutech, right? Edutech has become a big business now. But then on the business side of things, there are still, like kids, adults with like different, like learning patterns, perhaps, like learning speed and then learning style. These models could be used in those situations, right? To give like more personalized care or a learning, assistant to help them learn, right? So that they don't get left behind.
So next is Kacha domain. So we have seen in the
This, I think everybody will know, is so many demos of. We'll share the slide with everybody in an email. Right? I'm sure you have registered with the email so that you can review that. I know some of the text is too small, right? But they hard to read, but you guys can take it and review it later. I lost, yeah, the prompt.
prompting. So here we go with the fine tuning of LLMs. So these large language models are already being trained on so much of data, but not on the specific particular use cases data. So what we can do is, so we can take this pre-trained model. We can let us consider see this demo video. This fine tuning is specifically for translating English to French language. So we this transformer is having all the information that is open source on the language data or already trained on this model. We will take this model and train it with our own English to French translated transcripts. We will be having some data that is the input is English and output is French. So we will collect this data set and we will train fine tune this pre-trained model with our data. Once it is pre-trained once it is fine-tuned on this pre-trained model, this model will be capable of handling all the translation tasks that is in the English to French. So it can able to do with a high accuracy. So this is the fine-tuning part. So it is one of the method we do in all the use cases.
See, the demos that you have seen so far did not use any fine-tuning. It just used the existing model, like prompting that model to a specific use case, like a resume or JD or something like that. That's what we did. This is more for the technical, ML engineers. If the outcome that you want to generate is something new, right, and you don't want to start from scratch, right? Like the language translation will require like some basic understanding of these words, grammar, relationships, like this embeddings and things like that, right? That is already there. Right. So a team can take that pre-trained model and then build something, like more specific on top of that, right? See, even this like language translation is quite common. So there could be some, an entity, they may have taken this base version of this model and already created a language translation model on top of it, right? So even there, this common use cases will be taken care of. We are on the applied side of things rather than on the research side of things, right? One of the important things for us to know is like, what are these models already available, right? Like, what is their accuracy, right? Like, what is the cost of ownership of those models? What is the cost of, like running those, cloud APIs or something like that, right? So that becomes perhaps more important than learning how to do this fine tuning. But again, if you have to do fine tuning yourself, there's a way to do that. So this is after this we'll take a break. So this is the last part, but this is probably the most important point. Go another 5 more minutes, right? Let's pay attention because this deals with the prompts. Prompts is how we will. I think 9 out of 10 people will engage with these GPT models through prompts, right? how do we create good prompts is what we will discuss in the next couple of slides.
So you may have heard a word like a prompt engineer job roles in the recent times. So because as this NLP is evolving, this prompt engineering is a specific skill every person should have. So this prompting is prompting means like defining or framing the prompts so that we can able to get a desired output from these models. We will be giving some inputs like write a summary, write a poem with this topic. We can give this. These are the prompts, example prompts. But these are just generalized prompts. We have to be specific on the prompt side. So we know we know the desired output. For the desired output, we have to frame the prompts so that it will be able to get all the details relevant to our needs. So this is be clear and specific to the prompt. So you can use as much as of natural language because this GPT models are ChatGPT models are trained on conversational data. If you use any technical words, there may be a possibility of technical jargons, so which may be complicated in the later part. So you can provide as much of examples. Like I can give you an example. If you want to build an application that gives you the opposite of the word, like if I say cat, you have to say dog. If I say up, you have to say down. So we can train this as we can use these examples and create a separate application for them. So examples are also playing important part in this. So experimenting with different types of prompts. So don't just limit yourself with one prompt. If you get a good results in this prompt, there may be a possibility after 6 months, this prompt may be not be required for, not be sufficient for our outputs. So use as much of different ways of the prompts because this ChatGPT is evolving and they are releasing a new version every month. So currently we are using March version. So there may be a possibility they may retrain the model and give it in the April. So you have achieved a good result in the March version. But if you use the same prompt in the April version, there may be a poor accuracy. We can get poor accuracy. So iteratively refine the prompts. So use templates from the experts. So already these AI in AI industry, they have research scientists who have used this ChatGPT and prompted this ChatGPT and released some of the templates how to prompt and they have released some templates of prompting. So you can refer these prompts and use it for the your kickstarting your prompting journey.
Is prompt a question?
Yeah, this is actually a prompt, right? So this is the prompt that we used for generate that job description demo, right? This is like the prompt is starting from like very generic to very specific, right? Prompt number 7 is much better than prompt number 1, right? Prompt number 1 says prepare a job description for a position, let's say a data engineer, right? It knows enough to know what a job description is and then what a data engineer is, right? And then it will generate you a JD for it. But if you can provide with a little bit more context, right? Let's say if you have a certain level, right? Like a level meaning experience, right? Like that you're specifically looking for, provide that. And then if you have some specific skills that are mandatory, right? So you can provide level with skills, right? And then like, see if you go to this number 6, you say prepare a job description with a specific level, position with specific skills or years of experience. And then, like if they have a primary set of skills, right? Like you can specify that. And then see here, it's important, right? It in a way, it's formal, friendly, professional, informal, etc. Right? So this gives the model some input on like who the target audience is, like how how professional or informal or friendly it should be, right? See, that becomes important, right? Because sometimes ChatGPT knows too much, right? Its knowledge is vast, right? unless we give specific information on what is that specific thing that we are looking for, right? For example, we worked on a project where we need to generate these documents, right, for clinical drug trials, right? Like there are certain documents that needs to be generated for those PhDs and scientists who will approve these trials, right? Certain documents that needs to be generated for the nurses and doctors who will administer the trial. There are certain documents that needs to be generated for those people who volunteer for the trials, for whom 8th grade English is what the level required, right? But the content is the same, right? What technical jargons or like, the size and then specificity or the complexity of the language varies for each of these different documents, right? So if you're saying generate a JD or generate a contract, generate a proposal, generate a resume, or whatever other document that you have, right? Without specifying like some details on who the target audience is and then what language style that you want to use, you'll generate something. So the problem is that may be sufficient, right? Then what we'll do is like, see if we get the output that you're looking for in your first try, you'll take it and run with it. But a lot of times what happens is like if we have spent a little bit more time to give some specific inputs to the prompt, the output that you'll generate from the prompt number 7 will be much better than the prompt number 1. So this is what the iterative prompting means. Go to the next one. We'll go to the template. So this is a template that I saw somewhere, right? I'm putting it here. This is quite good. I really liked it, right? But till I saw this template, our prompting was not as good as it could be, right? This is a template that specifies what is the task type, who's the target audience, right? Any specific context or background, right? And then then it says like how big, again, what language you should use, how big the output should be, right? It gives in the form of a template, right? If you guys actually use this template, and then, so for example, this is one-on-one meetings, right? So we have this one-on-ones with our team, right? We want to have at least one-on-ones a month. But then when you go and sit in a one-on-one, right? We just don't know exactly how to trigger that conversation, right? Or different team managers can have like different idea of one-on-ones. One-on-ones will become status updates, right? That's not the intent. So that we can generate, some sample one-on-one, questionnaire by using this prompt, right? The one on the right. So the left is the template. I mean, you will get this PPT, right? So if you can't read some of it, you'll get the PPT and review it. Using that template, we didn't generate. I think it was pre-generated. One of the use cases that I really like was this one-on-one meetings, where it says, who's the target audience, what is the background, right? How long is this one-on-one going to be? So how many questions, should that output have? And other information. If you specify that, the output that you will get is quite, right? It'll be like we have seen it, many times ourselves, right? For these recently for our JDs, we will rather go to the ChatGPT than to the technical team. Or sometimes we'll get the input from the technical team and use that as some, inputs to our prompt to get a good JD or good questionnaire or good checklist, whatever your outcome is. By giving a good prompt, you'll get a good outcome. So these are another 2 templates, right? This is to create a learning activity plan. Again, there are some. See, this is a good example, right? Like this is a learning activity for, call center executives, right? And then the topic is specifically how do you deal with, hostile or irritated customer? How do you de-escalate, right? So you provide that context, right? And then you see that if your intent is creating a learning activity plan for that specific scenario, right? If you provide that, you will get a good set of answers. Rather than if you just say that I want to create a 15-minute learning activity for customer service executive, right? It will generate some questions for you, some like activity or tasks for you. That may make sense, right? We don't know how good it can get till we reach that, right? Like, so by providing the specific things, right? Hey, out of all the things a customer service representative may need to learn, the context of this particular task, right? Activity is how do you deal with this de-escalation, right? So it will generate some questionnaires, checklist, or like whatever you're trying to generate with that thing in mind, right? And then it will also, if you give, if it is for a like 15-minute training session or something like a 15-minute in-person learning activity, so it knows like how much can you cover within that 15 minutes, and based on that, it will generate like the number of questions. Okay, we'll take a break, a coffee break, right? On the question,